Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly and today I am going to be talking about how my reading has gone for the first quarter of the year, since the first quarter of the year has already passed. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I know, wow, I just, Anyways, so if you like this kind of video talking about stats and reading updates and just about books in general, I would encourage you to subscribe and stick around. This is very emblematic of my channel. I like to talk about where my reading is at, how I'm feeling about that, as well as talking about books and doing book reviews and all that kind of thing. So if you like that kind of thing, again, I would encourage you to subscribe. Now let's go ahead and jump into the meat of this video. Today I'm going to be using the quarter year crisis book tag to guide my thinking about this quarter of the year check-in kind of deal. This was an original tag by Rachelle Reads, and one of those tags that is perennial, so we can do it once a year and have different answers for it. I was personally tagged by Jennifer Brooks, who has an incredible channel here, and let's just jump right in. So how many books have you read so far? I have read 83 books. However, I have decided to count picture books, which has been a really wonderful decision for me, because it has motivated me to read more picture books because I am counting them towards an end of the year goal. However, I also have I think the question that some people want to the question underneath the question is how many adult books have I read, or how many full-length novels have I read? And in that, I would say that I've read 26 full-length novels with one true short story. It was All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury. That was the short story that I read. And then the rest, if you do the math, is picture books. Next question. Have you found a book you might think be a 2023 favorite? If not, what was your favorite book you read that wasn't quite 5 stars? So I have found a favorite, and I don't star rate my books. I just don't. But if I do star rate them, it's more like I felt like that was an amazing book. That was a very impactful read on me. Anyways, we're not going down that rabbit trail. I just don't star rate my books anymore. But I have found a 2023 favorite, which is probably what you all are here for. And it is George Eliot's Middlemarch. I read this as one of my first reads of the year, and I thought this was brilliant. I have since heard some criticism about the book, minor critiques, as in some of the two main storylines seem separate and they were kind of stitched together in one novel. I don't care. I just don't. I'm like, this book was brilliant. I loved her writing. I keep thinking about it. When I think about it, my heart is filled with warm, fuzzy feelings. Like, I just love this book so much, and then some. It was just so good. It was so good. And I'm so glad that I read it. I'm so glad it was one of the books that kicked off my year, and it really set the tone for having a wonderful reading year for me. Question number 3 is any 1-star reads or least favorite books? Again, I don't star rate my books, but the book that is definitely rotting in my memory, like, it's kind of like when I first finished the book, I had, it was like, oh, that was fine. And then as more time passes, it is just getting kind of decrepit, a little bit dusty. I feel like spiders are crawling all over it. It is becoming one of those things that I'm like, I don't want to touch it. I can't recommend it. It was not good. And that, unfortunately, was Claire Coda's Woman Eating. This follows the concept of the book is fantastic. It is essentially about a female vampire with an eating disorder who is making her way in the world for the first time in her life. And the execution was horrible. I mean, it's just like she would take you down this rabbit trail that was like really kind of interesting, and then like pivot to something else. And then you would have to get like reinvested in that rabbit trail, and then she would pivot to something else. She left me with more questions than answers, and the way that she discussed art in this book, which I really want to film a video about the right and wrong way to write about art, because there is a right way and there is a wrong way, and this is emblematic of the wrong way to write about art. It was just, it got on my nerves. I didn't like it. Anyways, I don't want to rant. But yeah, I just did not like this at all. It was not a good read. And at first I predicted this to be on the Women's Prize long list, and now I'm so glad that it didn't make it, because it really didn't deserve a spot on there. The next question is most read genre so far. I have literally no idea. I mean, technically I've read the most picture books. Like of my reading, I have read in bulk the most picture books, but that's not a genre. So let me see. My most read genre is definitely literary fiction. I've read 9 or 10 literary fiction books, and it's followed not even closely on the heels of nonfiction, which I think I've read 4 or 5 nonfiction books this year so far. The most read genre of nonfiction is memoirs, but of that I've only read 2 memoirs, and then one of which is like not even a memoir. Anyways, so 2 memoirs, but yeah, nonfiction would be 5 books. And then, but I just, so the subgenres in nonfiction. Nonfiction is kind of a lot to clump into one genre. And then I've also read, quite a few graphic novels, but that's a format, not a genre. And I had one more that I was going to note. I don't know. Anyways, but I've read a handful of mysteries this year. If you count Daphne du Maurier's Jamaica Inn, I've read 3 mysteries, which is a lot more than I would consider myself to have read, because I'm not typically a mystery reader. But I have discovered Elizabeth George, and I've been really I really enjoyed the first book in her series. By the way, I haven't discovered Elizabeth George. I've just discovered the magic of Elizabeth George to me, and I've really kind of fallen head over heels in love with her writing. Question number 5, a book that surprised you. I have 3 books that surprised me. Oh man, I mean, I could say that Middlemarch was surprising because I was really hesitant to start that read. But mostly because of its length. I was surprised by Antigone, by Sophocles, and really the whole Oedipus cycle. Surprising because after I started to get the themes, or after the themes were so kindly pointed out to me by a bunch of you all, I really haven't been able to stop thinking about this whole cycle. And my favorite play was Antigone. And I don't know, it's sort of like working its way in my brain and creating a lens in which I see every other book. Like, if a book mentions fate, if it mentions predestination, if it mentions that we were meant to do this, anything like that, I keep on going back to Sophocles and how fate is such a huge theme in this book. Another really big surprise for me, which I've already mentioned, was Elizabeth George and her book, A Great Deliverance. I thought I would like Elizabeth George as a mystery writer. She writes the Linley series, which she has been writing since 1988 and continues to write them to this day. And she has like 22 novels in this series. It's a whole thing. And I thought I would like her. I just didn't know that I would like her as much as I did. I just was delighted by her slow pacing, her attention to details, her character development, and I've heard the books only get better as they go on. And then finally, I felt I had Donna Finch's The Gold Tart. I had Donna Tartt's The Gold Finch on my shelves for years. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. I have a special place in my heart for the Pulitzer Prize. And I like collecting Pulitzer Prize for fiction winning novels. It's one of the things that I enjoy having around and getting to from time to time. And so I had this for years. I mean, years and years. I've had it since before I started my channel, and I just hadn't picked it up. And I think part of it is its length. I mean, it is quite a chunky little novel. It's over 900 pages, and I wasn't sure about it, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this book, and I keep thinking about it. And I feel like that's that's a sign of a really good book. I keep going back to some of the themes that she developed in this novel, and ultimately, the long short of it is, when talking about art, when writing about art, Donna Tartt did everything right, and it was so good. And I'm just surprised that I'm still thinking about it today. Question number 6, books that have come out in 2023 that you want to read but haven't. There's really only one book that I'm like quite curious about, though I don't know if I even want to say that I want to read it, but it's on my mind, and it's Eleanor Catton's Burnham Wood, because I really loved The Luminaries, which I actually have right here. Eleanor Catton wrote The Luminaries. It won the Booker in its year, so whenever it was eligible, that's when it won. And I just thought it was a brilliant novel, and I'm just waiting for the reviews of Burnham Wood. I don't know. I'm just waiting to see how it is received and how people enjoy it. And then maybe that'll help me decide whether I want to actually pick it up or not. But I am very curious about it. Question number 7 is one goal that you made that you are succeeding at. I actually want to know from you all the answer to this question for you personally. Because, I'm just curious as to, like, we set goals at the beginning of the year and we don't really follow up with them, or sometimes we don't. I do, because I am making these videos and I have this channel. But anyways, one of the goals that I made was to read 23 classics in 2023, and I actually pre-chose 23 classics to read. And in regards to that particular list of classics, I haven't done really that well, to be honest with you. I've read 2 books from the 23 that I pre-selected. However, I have read 6 classics this year, and ultimately I think the spirit of the goal is to just read 23 classics in 2023, because it's, it has a ring to it. I enjoy a list. And so I've read 6 classics this year, and they've ranged in success for me. I would say Paul Muldoon's poetry collection was the least successful for me, but then the most successful has been George Eliot's Middlemarch. Question 8 is one goal you made that you need to focus on, so maybe one that I'm not succeeding at. I would say that there are 2 goals. One is I made a video, I think in October of 2022. I will leave it linked down below. And it is the 10 books I want to read before I die. I did a video just like that the previous year with the 10 books I wanted to read before I died, and actually did pretty well on that list. And this year's list, I haven't done really well. I think I've read 1 book from that whole stack, if I am remembering correctly. I haven't gone back to visit the video. But I wanted to from October of 2022, I wanted to focus on those 10 books at sort of a low-level focus, and read a handful of them, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe all 10 by the time 2023 ended. And I don't think I've read hardly any. I think I've read 1. And so I'm kind of like, I'm failing a bit at that goal, but it's okay. It's fine. I really probably should focus on that, or at least revisit the video so I can see what I chose and how well I'm actually doing on it. But anyhow, that's one that I'm not doing so great at. And the other one is that I really wanted to buy a lot less books this year. And though I have bought less books this year than I have in 2022 and even in 2021, I don't think I'm succeeding in that goal as much as I had hoped. However, I have culled more books than I thought I would. I am really kind of reckoning with my collection of books and deciding if I actually want to read those books, or if I actually want to keep those books on my shelf. And I've decided some books that I have kept because they won the Pulitzer, because they have maybe a small sentimental value. I've decided, and I've reckoned, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't want them on my shelves. So it's been nice to really donate and get rid of almost as many books as I'm bringing in. If not really kind of an equal amount, I'm really getting rid of books at the same rate that I'm bringing them in. So that feels pretty good. But I still would like to buy less, she says as she plans on going shopping this next week. I don't know. What can I say? I love books. Love reading them, love shopping for them, love collecting them. And then the last question is new to you booktubers, bookstagrammers, booktalkers for 2023 that you recommend. I have several, so I'm going to give me a moment and I will be back with these recommendations. A couple of brand new channels to me are, or rather new channels to me are Stalking Kafka and Eyes on Indie. Stalking Kafka, she just has this wonderful energy. She's doesn't take herself too seriously, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. Somebody who has a lot of joy. And then Eyes on Indie, that channel, she focuses on indie releases, indie presses, indie books. And I really admire somebody who is so devoted to getting the word out about indie publishers and indie writers. I just really admire that in her, and she has such a passion for it, which I love. A channel that's definitely not new here on BookTube, but that I have been really, really enjoying. And I love that in her recent reads, it's Charlie Brooke Reads. Is that right? Charlie Brooke Reads. I don't know why I doubted myself, but she ranks all of the women's prize books that she's read so far. And so it's interesting to see the evolution of her ranking as she has read more and more women's prize for fiction books in 2023. So I've been really enjoying that aspect to her channel, but she's just got a wonderful channel regardless of her rankings or not. So I've been really enjoying that channel. And then a booktuber that is made a return, and I've just been enjoying her presence on BookTube, and that is Jasmine Reads. She has a long-standing channel here on BookTube, but she took a really long break for several months, and I'm just really glad that she's back. I love her energy. I like her no-nonsense reviews, and just no nonsense, but still has this underlying sweetness about her. And yeah, I've just been enjoying her return to BookTube, we'll say. And that is it. So thank you. If you want to answer any of these questions in the comments down below, I would really love to hear your answers to these. Especially, I really love the question, what's the best book you've read so far this year? I love that one. But yeah, otherwise, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for those who like and comment and do all of the wonderful things that you do to support the channel. And I really appreciate that. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.